Well, breaking news this morning, China is warning other countries from making any trade deals with the United States, as countries like Japan and South Korea have begun negotiations with the Trump administration. China's Commerce Ministry releasing a statement saying, quote, China firmly opposes any party reaching a deal at the expense of China's interests. If this happens, China will never accept it, and it will resolutely take countermeasures in a reciprocal manner. China is determined and capable of safeguarding its own rights and interests. Joining me now is Heritage Foundation Senior Fellow for China Strategy, Fox News contributor, and author of the 100-Year Marathon, Michael Pillsbury. Michael, it's great to see you again. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you, Cheryl.
So, what do you make about this? Again, these are threats. This is language that is coming from the CCP, that they're going to find a way to circumvent the United States, make deals with others, strong-arm other countries.
Well, one of the big debates among American-China experts over the last few years has been how strong are the hardliners around Xi Jinping. He's portrayed himself as a moderate and kind of a balancer with the pro-Mao kind of left-wingers on one side and then the hardliners on the other. When this kind of statement comes out, Cheryl, it's a sign to us that Xi Jinping is under pressure. He's got to say something anti-American. They already say a lot of anti-American things. That we're on the decline, that we're corrupt. There's even been a couple of Chinese books that we're going to fragment into pieces. It's kind of the equivalent of our idea of the collapse of China. They've got a theory of the collapse of America. So he's under pressure. There's some rumors coming out of Beijing that there's some sort of power struggle going on, that the sons of a couple of leaders who were reformers are now criticizing Xi Jinping on the one side, and then the other side is the hardliners could be much stronger than we thought. This is not good news for us. They did seem to soften, Cheryl, last week. They said, well, if Mr. Trump would just name a point man, one person to represent him, then they would start the talks. I somehow think that's not true. That's kind of the reformers trying to speak up. But Mr. Trump still has not named the point man who's going to be in charge of the talks. Last time, as you know, it was Bob Lighthizer at USTR, sometimes Treasury Secretary. But this is not looking like a smooth situation with the Chinese at all. It's looking the opposite. That it's I'm getting more pessimistic about the talks getting going.
Well, the South Koreans are coming this week, so there's at least those discussions underway. And we know that the Japanese have been here. But one of the things that China is doing, and this is interesting, they're now returning two Boeing MAX airplanes to the U.S. Beijing ordered their airlines not to take any deliveries of Boeing aircraft in response to the tariffs. But these two planes were already at a field in China. CCP says send them back. And then in the auto sector, Ford is stopping shipments of some of its most popular cars to China because they want to avoid the reciprocal tariffs on U.S. goods. Now, the Trump administration is moving forward with plans to put fees on Chinese ships at our ports in an attempt at breaking China's dominance on global shipping, Michael. What do you make of these latest moves?
Well, it's an escalation, Cheryl. I think President Trump was kind of trying the sweet approach, referring to Xi Jinping many times, including during the campaign, as my friend Xi Jinping. But what President Trump has had to do in the last month is keep raising the tariffs. They just won't come to the table. This all happened again in the first term, when it took a year to get the first round of talks starting. So I'm getting pessimistic. As long as we don't get a phone call from Xi Jinping or he doesn't stop these negative gestures toward us, it's just not looking good.
Interesting, Michael. Liz Peek is on set with me. She's got a question for you.
Good morning, Michael. There's an article in the Financial Times this morning about some of the big companies like Alibaba in China trying to source more material out of small factories in China. I'm hearing factories are closing all over China. Yeah. People are being laid off. That seems to me to be the big pressure point. What do you think? The Chinese consumer is historically and famously reluctant to buy or to up their purchases. But can this initiative from Alibaba and other companies actually take hold?
You're quite right. I've been watching Chinese television over the last couple of days. They are covering layoffs, factories closing, the number of containers that are not moving at all. So the Chinese Communist Party line in the last few days has been to highlight, look how much we're suffering.
Yeah.
Now, as you know, Liz, Xi Jinping has got his own power base. There's something like 500 families or so who are the owners or the beneficiaries of the state-owned enterprises. And they're the ones who are going to have to will be hurt the most if there's a deal with President Trump to drop tariffs. So we've got this so-called 500 families group that it doesn't care that much about layoffs and unemployment and the container ships being stopped. So I'm afraid we're going to see more negative gestures come out of Xi Jinping as he tries to reassure his base, Liz. The Make China Great Again base is very concerned about these numbers that you're citing.
Well, and also, too, I want to pick up on that because now they're reportedly sanctioning U.S. Congress members, officials, head of NGOs for their, quote, egregious behavior on Hong Kong-related issues. And this action is coming in response to the U.S., which sanctioned 6 Chinese and Hong Kong officials last month. Hong Kong's oldest and largest pro-democracy political party, they're going to be disbanding. Beijing obviously has more control over this city. Hong Kong was kind of one of those last, I guess, entry points, if you will, that seemed to be open, and it looks like that's going to be shut as well.
Yes, the big factor at play here is the delisting comment that our Treasury Secretary made, just hypothetically, that we may have to delist Chinese stocks. You've been talking about this for many years, Liz and Cheryl. It's really the $1 trillion worth of capital that they get through the New York Stock Exchange. If we do delist them all at once, that's supposed to help Hong Kong. But I noticed recently the Hong Kong market people are talking about how this will hurt Hong Kong. They cannot absorb that much capital all at once. So this is a very effective threat that our Treasury Secretary has made, and I think we're seeing some reactions to it. Again, it's a pessimistic sign that that it has to go this far, and we still can't get China to come to the table for negotiations.
Yeah, Maria has made that point many times about the fact that you've got multiple Chinese companies that are listed on American exchanges, and she's brought that up many times. Yeah. Real quick, with regards to Iran, I do want to ask you this because this kind of goes back to that axis of evil, if you will. So Iran's foreign minister is set to visit China tomorrow, and there's nuclear talks between the U.S. and Iran that just happened over the weekend. Those are supposed to continue. The foreign minister visited Russia last week, saying that Iran always closely consults with friends, Russia and China, over the nuclear issue, Michael. So these alignments, if you will, China, Iran, Russia, are they strengthening right now? Or do you think because of the Ukraine situation, Russia's going to pull back? Where are we right now, the state of play?
Iran keeps seeking promises from China that they will purchase gas and oil and other things from Iran. They'll have a stable sort of market for the next 5 years, despite the threats from Israel and America. This is for the last 10 years or so. I tried to cover this in a 100-year marathon, Cheryl. This axis of these countries getting together on an anti-American basis. It's really dangerous for us. In terms of sanctioning, you mentioned sanctioning of American congressmen and senators over Hong Kong. The sanctions are also on Dan Sullivan of Alaska. He wants to reopen the ADAK, A-D-A-K, the island, and make it into a really powerful base for our forces, especially air forces, against China. So they're after him now. I notice the Chinese press picks out people it wants to demonize. And Senator Dan Sullivan of Alaska, retired Marine Corps colonel, he's their new punching bag. So they're picking out individual congressmen and attacking them. Yes, you're right. And Iran, it seems to be a quasi-ally of China. We just don't seem to be able to split the relationship between Iran and China. That's why these talks got so much tension over the weekend, and they haven't really produced results yet. Michael Pillsbury, it's always great to speak with you. Thank you so much for being with us. All right. Thank you, Cheryl. We'll be right back.